What up? Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. I am your host, A.D. Walker. Appreciate you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys with us this morning. And we're going to have a great time. We should have a guest coming through. Got to see. Hopefully, I sent the right link. Good morning, Kathy. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys being present in the space, in the place, as we continue our conversation concerning the school to prison pipeline and getting different perspectives on it. Let's see, prayerfully, coach will be coming through, but we'll see. If not, it's all good. You know how we hold it down either way. I got my man Mark in the building, as well as Pastor, of course, in the building as well. So we're going to really kick this conversation off. I appreciate you guys. Continue to share, continue to tag other people. Like I said, share this wherever social media you're using. Of course, Facebook is the easiest to share. If you're on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up on each one of these broadcasts. It helps with the gods of algorithm in the YouTube space. And as well as, share to people that you know, text message, however you can share. We appreciate you. So I'm asking. Cost you nothing. Just a few minutes of your life. All right. So make sure you do so. We're about to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and get started. I think that's all I wanted to share. Thank you for being here. My podcast people, thank you for representing. Thank you for listening. And that's it. Let's go ahead and get kicked off. I want to welcome you to the Brothers of Legacy broadcast, where we are changing our community one conversation at a time, every day.
We are creating a new legacy.
Change gon' come, change gon' come, change gon' come, change gon' come, change gon' come.
A co-op has to start with ownership. We have a mindset of either I want to make a lot of money or survive. Make a bunch of money or I got to figure out how to survive.
When you have a real bond, when everyone has, we come in with real expectations. Because this is covenant.
The whole premise is that we as a people, with our money and time, aren't often making this journey possible, often vested in the business.
Damn, not that view. This view. There we go. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Mark in the building.
Good morning.
Appreciate you guys being here. Just another day. All right. Let's shoot a quick text.
You got real Baptist real quick. Come on.
That the Lord. All right, let's go. All right. All right. So again, I appreciate you guys rocking and hanging with us. Another edition of the Brothers Legacy. Hey, good morning, Deborah. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Deborah.
Appreciate you
Lisa,
being
Kathy.
here. Awesome. So like I said, today we're discussing the the changing the school to prison pipeline, coming up with some real solutions to this issue or problem that we have in our neighborhoods, and coming to the stage. I guess he might have a little technical issues, but he's in the building. Mr. Coach TJ.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. We can hear you.
All right.
Welcome to the Brothers of Legacy, my brother.
Thank you, man. Good morning to all the brothers, Grand Rise, and everyone. You did.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning,
Yes,
man.
Good morning,
Oh.
yes, sir.
Quick backstory: I met this gentleman at a men's meeting facilitated by Dr. Rollins, Dr. JL, and it was a great conversation we were having. And this gentleman dropped a lot of good gems, and I was like, I need this to be heard to more people, you know, because he has a lot to share. And as we talk about the changing the school to prison pipeline and changing those situations, coming up with real solutions, this is one of the gentlemen that I like to say that's in the trenches, coaches football. Am I correct?
Yeah, football and just life in general, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
which age group do you deal with coaching?
Well, right now I have the 12U. I'm the head coach of 12U. I also help out with the younger guys all the way from 6 to 14, basically, because it's one organization, Clayton Trojans. So we all work together, you know, and when you see the boys out there, you get a feel for where they come from. You get to understand the journey and how some parents are, you know, single parents, some are together, some may be same-sex parents. You see a whole lot of things with coaching in general, and it teaches you more about understanding and empathy, because you can implement what you know, but you also have to be a sponge to allow them to teach you who they are, you know. So that's pretty much what it's about.
Gotcha. All right. If I pause for a minute, it's because I guess my computer, I'm having an issue on my end. You guys are probably flowing and looking great. For me, everybody's breaking up.
Man, so you got to upgrade from dial up, man. Come on.
Listen, I know. Someone keeps jumping on the phone. They keep jumping on the phone, breaking up my connection.
If you're gonna feed off the neighbor's Wi-Fi, you gotta get closer to the window.
You gotta be in the car, huh?
You gotta get close to the window,
man. So like I said, so yes, he has a lot of like current experience with, you know, a lot of the kids are more larger perspective, at least from my standpoint. I got my two and a few that I've connected with. What would you guys say, like, and we've talked about this kind of like all week, but between you, Coach TJ, and Mark, and with Mark, you know, he's a minister in the church, so and there's a lot of youth going to his church. There's his several youth and a lot of different parents and families there, so he has a perspective as well that I want to hear his thought on it. What are some of the ways that we can help from the outside as far as mentoring and talking to our youth as far as being more effective? Now, we spoke about during the course of the week, Pastor mentioned, you know, there's the momentary things that you see that, you know, you won't see them again, but maybe you can probably plant a seed. And then there's I have more connection with them that maybe I can help for the long term. What would you say is one of the best ways to approach a child that you might see that's off track? If through a parent discussing it with you, like, hey, can you say something to my kid? Is it something you can do, you know, save my child?
Yeah.
You know, like, they're not horrible, but it's just like, you know, as you grow up, you see certain patterns and you think in your mind, oh man, I don't want my child to follow that pattern. You know, what are some of the things that kind of wake a child up in the sense of that you've seen or that you've implemented yourself? Either one, Coach TJ or Mark, can jump in on that question first.
Well, what I usually see is the first thing I tell them is I used to be a teenager. I was a child and I grew up in the hip hop, you know, age.
Right.
So it's not really a distant memory. It's basically still going on, the same things. Right. So, and being from the west side of Chicago, I seen everything young, like everything that you can see. You know, you might have gangbangers down the street, molesters down the street, killers, knowledgeable thinkers, professors, preachers. You might have teachers, coaches. You got aspects of all these things going around in the young world. And especially with boys, things happen to boys and they don't speak about it through embarrassment. So the first thing I tell them is be open to the dialogue, have the conversation. Don't be afraid to speak up, because some things that may happen to you might not be your fault and you might not understand that. And as they get older, especially like teens, people say music doesn't influence people, but it does. Because I remember if Tupac was playing and somebody was drinking Hennessy and they got into a fight, they want to do something to that person because now they're fueled up on what I call the superhero juice. So now they have more toughness, more pride at stake. So I usually tell them, before you take that step, think about it. because that 5 minutes could lead to 30 years, 100 years, 25 years to life. I got friends that's doing 25 to life, and we was just 13 years old. You know, I had friends that would come to school in 7th grade, 6th grade with 38s, you know, be in a gang already, tattoos at 10, 11. And then you see this and you start to say, man, nah, I don't think that happens. No, it happens for real, because you can't close a blind eye to a thing like that. So I would say, first of all, I understand you. I can see you. I know what you're going through. Next, I would say, what do you really want? Not what your friends want, not what your mom and dad want. What do you really want? Because sports isn't for everybody. So you might not play sports. So you might be into science, but then that might be lame to some of your guys. So now you have to say, well, I like science. I love it. I don't care who doesn't. You know, you have to give them a sense of confidence building, because they don't understand you coming into a world that's more upgraded than you ever seen, because you got internet, everything. They could tell your business in Zimbabwe in 2 minutes. Everybody knows that something happened to you. It used to be the people around the corner just gossiping. Now it's a whole world that knows your family problems, everything. So now you're walking into life with this. You have to remember that from a child, talking to a child, you have to know it's a sponge automatically. So what you say, somebody's been molding them. No matter how you view when you come in, you have to remember that these are layers that's been built up. So you have to break the layers down. Be patient. You know, I would say be patient, man, and understanding, man.
Right. Okay. Mark, what would you say some of your experience has been dealing with the youth or trying to reach them? You know, some of the techniques that you probably implemented. And Pastor, I've noticed that you're looking smoother today, sir.
Exfoliating.
That's drinking water. New year, new me. You know.
Yes, sir.
I cut my beard off.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
you cut the beard off.
Oh man, yeah, I see that. I see you looking younger. Go ahead, Pastor. I ain't mad at it, but yeah, I like what my brother here said, man. Like, it's a lot of contributing factors. It's a lot of different variables, because you got to understand, man. Like when we were coming up, you know, of course, we had to deal with the community. The community that we're in, and then we had to deal with the household that we grew up. But nowadays, like you said, man, it's so much technology. And technology it's not a beast, man. It's a monster. Let's just go on and say that, man. Technology and the internet, social media, those things, that's a three-headed monster. So, and we have to battle that. We have to fight that, because one thing kids have today that we didn't have is access. And they have access to so much stuff. And then when you have access to everything, you become desensitized to everything. And it's becoming harder and harder to speak to somebody's humanity. You know what I'm saying? And so, so for these kids, like you said, man, you have to find out what their interests are. You know, you have to find out what they like as an individual, because this whole follow the crowd mentality is becoming so uncontrollable now. You know what I'm saying? Because we have so much to contend with, man. But I just believe in positive reinforcements. You know, keep encouraging these kids, keep letting them know that, hey, you know, you can be successful. And then on top of that, man, I think the main thing, we have to show them what success looks like. Because they only get a few examples. They only get a few examples of what success looks like. And that's you either playing ball, or you're a rapper, or you're a drug dealer. And to them, success is a lot of money. Success is fancy cars. Success is a big house. Success is, you know, a bunch of women. And stuff like that. And it's hard to contend against that, man. It's hard. It's you can't let a kid who watches rap videos and watches you know, people in the NBA, NFL, it's hard to say to them, hey, plumbers are successful. You know what I'm saying? So you know, doctors and lawyers are successful, or whatever it is you choose to do, you can be successful in whatever entity or whatever field or industry that you choose to go into. But like I said, they only have so many examples, and it's just every day. You know, this rapper just bought his third house and his 18th car. You know, so
how do you so, and as I'm glad you mentioned that, how do you put that success in perspective, right? You know, if we can show the athlete, you can show the rapper, but you know, there's a lot of work one going into becoming these things. You know, we all know it's not an overnight thing. Also, like when it comes to sports, you know, there's the statistics of how many people actually make it to the NBA or actually make it into the NFL. I've seen the statistics. It seems like it's easier or it's more likely to become a baseball player than it is a football player or a basketball player. So how do you put success in perspective? And because I get it, because you know we kind of grew up with the same thing, seeing the same stuff. Like, oh man, that's the only way I could really become rich. Because it's so funny. I was talking to my wife. I said back in the day, only people you saw seems like that had BMWs and Mercedes were two people. Either they were doctor, lawyers, super successful, or drug dealers.
It was a thin line.
Yeah, right? Like, you know, if they were black, you're like, what they slanging? You know, slanging those legal drugs or they slanging illegal drugs.
They slanging some type of drug.
It's like
there's a drug out there.
Right. So especially like you said, now with the internet and seeing so much, I will say, you know, aspiring to be a YouTube star is not the worst thing. At least it's legal. At least it's legal.
It's definitely legal, you know, because illegal is outside the doorstep. As soon as you walk out, the world, but the world is illegal.
Yeah.
If you really think about the world, it's so many things that's been created by savages and tyrants throughout time to be looked at as normal, to it's accepted as normal, doesn't mean it ever was normal.
Right.
You know, land robbing and stealing and pillaging and killing and all types of things throughout time. The one thing we forget is we throw all these things on the youth that's been going on before our great grandmother was born.
Right.
And we have to remember that us being, whether you saying black, carbon being, melanated being, indigenous, aboriginal, don't matter what title name you put on it, we've been around for the show.
Right.
and at the show, we've been head of the show. We've been stage hands. We've been the main star. We've been everything in the show. And we forget that it's a separation every day when you no longer tell people it's still a show. Because you think that reality TV is real. You don't think that they cut and say, hey, okay, Jimmy, now go slap Barbara, auntie, little brother, because but it's not real. Don't hurt him. Just, you know, but watching it, it's like, oh man, he just slapped that guy. Man, they got beef. Oh man, if that was me, because now you're taking a play. Remember, we all players or we all actors in a divine stage play that's created by the Most High, whatever you choose to call God. I don't argue with people about that. But I know that we're here to play a role.
Right.
Hello.
And children a lot of times they're coming from make-believe.
Right.
And you got to remember with make-believe, it's still an aspect of realness there because we're, you know, a lot of people are saying I'm this character or the persona. The word persona, you know, basically means the mask.
I got you.
So that's the definition of a persona, the mask. Like an actor, they would call it a persona. When he puts on a persona, he might be different outside his house because he now has the mask for the world. Right. So when you're dealing with a child, you have to take your mask off. That's the first thing. You have to let them know, like, this is the real me. Real. Right, and what success looks.
Right. Is that me? Is he paused?
So like you said, who might be successful because he's running a major business that's keeping your house from flooding every day. Then you have the person that has landscaping. He may have the #1 landscaping company in his area or in his district that does all these facilities in different places. Then you might have a guy who says, you know what? I learned about history, so I teach history around the world. And these guys are pulling up in Benz's, Beamers, or their pickup truck or whatever they choose to drive because the material aspect is based on the one who buys it. It doesn't necessarily mean you're better or worse because you have this or that. See, and with rap, because I understand it, I come from that. I've done it. I've seen it. Even in that aspect, it's more about a gladiator sport. When I go into the arena, I usually don't own the arena.
Right.
I'm going
Right.
into it.
Right.
So it's somebody that says,
Hey,
hey, this gladiator, man, I like his style. He's the
Right.
one we putting the money on.
Right.
He
right,
might
right.
not be necessarily the people person. He might
Right.
not be the most logical being in the room, but he's the
Yeah.
most entertaining.
Definitely.
And
I
so
got you.
when we're talking to children or your teenagers, you have to remember, you have to tell them it's a difference between what is real and entertainment. Because
Right.
see, that is what we're missing. Because it's
Right.
like, well, I want you to be this, I want you, but it's not about what you want, because
Right.
that's a divine being as well who has a journey and a purpose here too. And
Right.
you're supposed to help mold that and guide it, not
Definitely.
change it to fit your mold of what you think they should be. Because
Gotcha.
who's to say that being a football player is bad, or being
Right.
a pastor
Right.
is bad, or being a doctor is bad? And who's to say that being a lawyer is good? Because you might have to develop some corrupt activity because you're fighting for people you know just murdered somebody. You know, you saw the tape, you watched it. You like, well, nah, he didn't really mean to shoot him 112 times. It's like he
Right.
was down after the first 3 shots, man. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so you walk a thin line in this game of life. And when
Right.
teaching people, you have to remember that contradictory stories can happen in a matter of seconds. You might just
Definitely.
contradict yourself in 2 minutes and not even realize it because of how much the journey entails.
Right. So you would say, so it's not directing, it's more or less, figuring out what the child wants or what their aspirations are and trying to mold from there. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
give them a
That's kinda-
chance. Give
yeah.
them a chance to show you
Definitely.
who they are. You know,
Definitely.
you can't drive a car that takes premium gas. You don't even know it. You ain't seen a manual or nothing. You putting 87 in every day. You're just like, well, I put 87 in my last car.
Right.
Hey, don't worry about it. It's gonna be all right.
Right.
You know, but
Right.
I ain't gonna Mike Tyson your whole ear off about
Right.
it. You know.
Oh, so Pastor, like we're talking about, yeah. Oh, appreciate that, Aunt Sam. We're talking about like before you got your thing messed up. Talking about success and giving children like perspective on success and seeing outside of the usual bias. Because of course you see what's on TV, you see what's on Instagram or whatever you're watching. Wherever your focus is, that's where you're feeding off of course. How to broaden the idea of success to children. Because, when you get older, you realize, oh man, there's so many things that you could be making a lot of money doing, besides what you've always seen. Like, I could make doctor money doing this, like, you're like, oh, I didn't, even if I got into music, I don't need to be upfront. Like you said, even if I just own the stadium, even if I got a piece of the stadium, that'll make me even more rapper money. Now I'm paying the rappers, so it's broadening your sense of success. So not answering it, but throwing it out there, Pastor, like, how do you talk about success or broaden the idea of success to your children and those of their friends and things of that nature?
I think it still goes back to, and I appreciate everything you said, brother. Everything that you're talking about speaks to reaching the young person, knowing how to reach them, knowing how to capture their attention. I think sometimes we forget we are communal by nature. We're always searching for a community, and that's why it has to go back to the foundation. There's a lot that we can pour into our children at home, but speaking strictly to the ability to earn income, we're in the best possible position that we've ever been because of social media. Folks are making money 6 ways from Sunday now.
Right.
People realize I can make money just by promoting somebody else's stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. If I can make money just by getting someone's attention.
Right.
I can make money playing jokes on pranking my friends.
Right.
Right. So if anything has been opened up, it has been the opportunities, the ability to figure out creative ways to earn an income. But earning an income is not necessarily establishing a purpose or career.
Right.
That's the issue. You have no sense of self. You're being driven by chasing the bag.
Right.
So how do we get some purpose into the individual? And that's what I think my brother's talking about when he talks about reaching these children and making sure they understand the difference between earning this income by pranking your friend and disrespecting another individual for profit.
Right.
You know that you have to reach them, and I think that the mistakes are made very early on. You know, we talk about the educational system. We talked about this the other day, AD. You know, the difference between Montessori and the traditional school system. You know, the size of the classrooms. You know, when you have an overcrowded classroom, you're herding cattle. You're not educating children. Right. So you have to look at things like shrinking the size of the classrooms. Why do people want to send their children to private school? Because they know the classrooms are going to be smaller. They're going to get more attention. You know, there's going to be more focus. And what we have is overrun schools, underserved, under-resourced schools.
Right.
That are overpopulated with more police than counselors.
Yeah.
We have to get to the mindset that more of us, everybody has to become a social worker, because what we're lacking is social development. And the reason we're lacking that is because we're so communal. And now the children have so many opportunities to be drawn to other resources. They can be drawn to YouTube, living vicariously through somebody that's on YouTube. You know, I want to be that. You just talked about Tupac. You know, you listen to Tupac, you're drinking that Henny, whatever. You become that person. You take on that persona, not realizing it's not real.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so we have to capture them early. Yes. And I think the school system has to play a role. But I do believe that as a community, we have to remember that if we don't provide the opportunity, if we don't provide the nurturing environment for our young people, they're going to be drawn to something. And that's the issue we have. They're being drawn to everything except the foundational truth of who we are, who we're supposed to be, what our original purpose has been for this world. And brother, you said it earlier, man, we've been a part of everything.
Right.
Our fingerprints are everywhere on the globe, everywhere. Right. And not everybody can say that.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
A lot of young humans, you know, in this history, you know, we have the longest, richest, wealthiest history in the world. And that's the reason why we're treated a certain way, because who wants to allow a being that you've told was nothing for 100 to 500 years in a row to wake up and say, wait a minute, I'm actually divine royalty. I'm actually something greater. You said purpose and communal. You know, it was a village to raise a child.
Right.
You understood that if you got in trouble down the street, your friend, uncle will whoop your butt, take you to your mama, your grandma, daddy, uncle, whoever they'll whoop your butt, put you on punishment. And you really see like all these people care. Like I'm getting in trouble 19 times in a row.
Right.
And I think that that's something that we're missing because grandma is 25. you know what I'm saying? Like she's still twerking on Instagram, and you get to see that's my grandma. Like my friend know what my grandma nightgown look like.
I had to fall out the picture on that.
you know, like it's like wow, I'm looking like, hold on, this is why. Because Big Mama ain't there no more. Granddad, the uncle that was, knowledgeable. It's not to say it doesn't exist, but it's few far in between. And like he said, with schools always been a thing where somebody's teaching you. It's like the victors teaching the victim. Like somebody conquered your whole way of being, your whole people, like everything, and then start teaching you from their aspect. Right. That's like a lion teaching a lamb. The lion's gonna eat that lamb. Right. And we got to remember that. We got to remember not to be so naive in the world. You can get along with people, but you still have to know you. Knowledge itself is key because we're the beginning of everything. It's not a time in this world that we haven't been here. We've been, like I said, we've been called everything. When they told you the definition of an American was a copper-colored Aboriginal being in the 1800s, they took copper off and just called you colored. Right. And then your grandma said got Indian in her family. She wasn't talking about the one in the cowboy movie. Right. She was talking about you.
Right.
Because you're a
Right.
copper. If you put a penny on your hand, a light one, a dark one, a
Right.
super brand new, it's going to be some form of a reddish copper, not black at all. We just say titles and terms, but in reality, when I was a child, it was an Indian red crayon that looked closer to my hand than a black crayon.
Right.
So when you take the Washington Redskin logo away, who looks like James from Good Times with a perm, you know, basically what he looks like, and you take him away because you're starting to say, wait a minute, that's an Indian?
Right.
Why he don't look like my Mexican brother? Why he don't look like this, you know, more Asian looking brother, you know? And then you start to piece things together. And I think that's kind of where we've ran astray, because school systems teach you things like oppression is a good thing. Because if you got Christopher Columbus, he's celebrated.
Right. Right.
But everything he's known for is oppression, robbing, stealing, killing. Ferdinand, DeSoto, all of these people that you learned about, Cortez, these people were robbing, killing, stealing, raping, pillaging.
Right.
And they have days, and you think about it. And celebration, we celebrate everything because, once again, like you said, we're communal. We're people of knowing, like a holiday was a holy day to us. It was a day of divine love and feasting more than it was about celebrating someone else.
Right.
Like, we don't even think about the other people when we come together for these holidays. You know, we have a good time. We laugh, we joke, because we understand what it means to us. So if the children never get a perspective of what we feel, like if we, like, once again, if we come in with a persona all the time, like you got to do this, you got to, and you never break it down, then you're just saying things and they have no weight.
Right.
No, it'll flow in the wind. It'll just blow away because the foundation has never been, applied to a point that you say, okay, before you take off, it's a runway at the airport.
Right.
You don't just automatically get the plane in the air.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And they had to build a runway first and get people out there. And, once again, we're skipping steps because it looks horrific and we want to hurry up and fix the problem. So we're going from, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. And we forget, like, wait a minute, what's the foundation of all of these things? We were terrorized and we lost a sense of self. And by us having to work and feed children and do things, we didn't have time to teach them. So now you got schools.
So how would you, so let me ask you guys this, right? One of, like, I think Pastor said, you and Coach TJ said the same thing. Drafting purpose into an individual, right? And I'm big on, finding out what you should be doing, your impact, and the things of that nature, what you should be contributing. How do we, what are some of the ways, and this is the all-in-all solution, but what are some of your ideas of drafting purpose into, like, children or teenagers or even adults? Like, what are some of the ways to help, like we talked about, Pastor, like me and you talked about a couple of days ago, just the stages, like, as a kid, trying to get rid of the junk, as a teenager, trying not to see the junk as reality, but changing the mindset. Then as an adult, trying not to let them be stuck, but motivating them out of the space that they're in. What are some of the ways we can help draft purpose into individuals? Because I know at some point, sometimes in life, people are more open. They become like, man, I need something. I need something. But then there's some parts that folks need it or want it, but they just don't know how to go about it, how to get that change in their situation, or their life, as far as knowing what they should be getting into or having that impact. What some of the ways would you suggest or talk to an individual about drafting purpose into them, like as far as knowing what to do different? And anybody whoever wants to jump in on that first,
I mean, first you have to ask yourself, what are you really chasing? When you talk about purpose, if I want to talk to a young person about purpose, I better make sure I understand my own. Right. You have a lot of empty people trying to educate young minds. Right. A broken person can't help anybody.
Right.
And that's the issue that we have. There are far too many empty vessels that are over 30 years old that are adults but not grown.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And the problem is they have influence over young minds.
Right.
So if you don't have a sense of purpose, if you don't really have a sense of self, if you're a walking persona, then how are you going to help somebody? You're going to paint a picture and never really understand the meaning of the picture, and everybody's chasing a picture.
Right.
That's the problem that we have. And so the fundamental truth is something that people don't want to deal with. You got to take the electronics away.
Right. Right.
You know, you got to go back to, you know, playing in the dirt.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Going outside and throwing the ball.
Right.
You know, the little dollhouse, and all. You got to go back to basic fundamental things in order to really open up the mind and the creativity of these children. Sit down with your children and pull out a coloring book.
Right.
Have them begin to draw, you know, and like crayons. I had my granddaughter or my grandsons, you know, my daughter moved here last year, and one of my grandsons was having some challenges in school, and my mom sent my mom's y'all know my mother's a retired teacher. She sent me all this stuff to work with the children. And I realized that in my daughter's house, there were no crayons.
Wow.
How do you,
Right.
you know, and I'm just saying that.
No,
how do you miss
Everything's
that?
on the tablet now, Pastor.
Right.
Right.
Everything.
How do you have elementary or preschool level children and there's not a single crayon in the house?
Right. Right. Let me download like Crayon app.
Yeah, that crayon on a tablet, you know.
Yeah, they got it on the tablet.
Yeah.
Everything's on the tablet now.
I got you, but that's the problem.
Right. You're right.
That's the problem.
Right.
You know, we're not working on paper anymore. You know,
Right.
children can't write in cursive.
Right. Right.
Right. But Pastor, can I ask you a question, though, Pastor? Is that the problem, or is that just the world that we're living in? Because every generation progresses, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Let me say, okay, wait, because you're gonna go down a path, and then I'm gonna forget where you started.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Table that right there. I want to say this to you.
Okay, go ahead.
Because you're right. It is the world we live in. But let me ask you something. Is there anything new under the sun?
Oh, sir.
That's good.
So it's the same world
Right.
before crayons.
Right.
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 You understand? Before crayons, there was still drawing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the mentality of it is if you can do it all on a tablet,
Yeah.
now I can't sit with you at the table and draw with you.
Right. Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
It's not the tablet that's the problem.
Right.
It's the fact that the electronics has separated the parent
Right.
from
Right.
the child and the activity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You understand? That's
Right.
the issue. You know,
True.
Rollins is on here. Sean Rollins is on here. Sean Rollins loves to play cards.
Oh, yeah.
Loves to play cards.
Yeah. Know that.
Right? But is it the card playing or is it the fellowship?
Right. Right. Right.
Right?
You're right.
Like we want to go play cards, but the truth is, you're longing for fellowship. Can
Yes.
you please explain to a young person how important that fellowship is? It's
Right.
not about winning the card game.
Right.
It's about the laughing and the joking that my brother, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
It's Coach TJ.
Coach TJ.
Yeah.
TJ, it's Coach TJ. Coach TJ was just talking about it earlier. You know, let's make sure we understand why we're really here.
Right.
I'm not here to beat you in cards.
Right.
I'm here to laugh and joke and have a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're so busy talking about the cards,
Right.
we lose sense of the real purpose of why we're here. And
Yeah.
that's the separation,
Definitely.
right? I want to go score a touchdown. Yeah, but what I really want to do is build camaraderie and learn how to work with a team.
Right. Right.
Laugh for my
Understand?
teammates. Yeah.
Yeah, we got too many coaches out here talking about you need to score.
Right.
I see it,
You
trust me, all the time.
Right. It becomes more about winning the game as opposed to why do you think Antonio Brown is so jacked up right now?
Mm.
From that mentality you just spoke
it's
on.
the enablement.
Right.
Yeah. Even team sports are becoming so individualized.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
One goal beyond teaching. It's just a goal to win. You know,
So is that
if you can get an NIL in college for $1 million and you just turned 18 years old,
Right.
and you not even in the NFL.
Right.
So what happens when you don't listen to that coach that's in college or your teammates anymore? Because now you got $1 million in your pocket. It's hard to tell somebody something when you, like we said earlier, when you given success and you were never told what success really is.
Right.
You just value money. And you said something about the card game. It's socializing, like you said. You know, you want to be able to talk. Last night we had practice for an all-star game. And my son was there and a couple other guys from the area, and we coached the Southside team for 12U. Now, these guys might have played each other before, but they laughing on the field. They all talking, having a good time. You know, at the beginning of practice, all the coaches implemented what they want, you know, what their wants are, what their needs are, what the whole purpose is. Now, have a little fun. Now, when you get out of hand, remember that guy next to you can get you in trouble. But it won't be his fault alone. It'll be yours too. Because we told you just like we told him. If you feed into the jokester over there, when it's not playtime, you're going to see these repercussions. And I think that's what's missing when you sit down with your children. If you tear up all this paper, you're going to get in trouble. The crayon's not the right on the wall. It's the right on the paper. Because you do have to understand what the tools are for. You can't break the iPad either, you know, you just because you have one, you know. So it's like he said, if I can't sit down and teach you what the tools are, what the purpose of what we're doing is, and knowing once again, he said or something else was, it's nothing new under the sun. You not recreating the wheel, you just putting a 24-inch rim on it.
Right.
That's it. It's still the same wheel, though.
That's it.
Right.
True.
That's true. That's true.
You
So
said something, and this is one of the saddest things that I heard this week. I'm going back to Antonio Brown. You want to talk about the epitome of where we are today.
Right.
Everyone is talking about, you know, whether he's at fault, whether the coaches are at fault. The reality is the system is at fault.
Right.
And here's what I mean. Hall of Famer, one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game, Randy Moss. Randy Moss was asked, do you think Antonio Brown will ever play in the NFL again? Randy Moss' response is, no, I don't, because of what he did. He walked out on the team.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is something, and I'm like, yeah, your teammates, you sent a message that I can't be trusted. That's the message. When you walk out on the team, you're basically telling every NFL player, every NFL coach that I can't be trusted. Right. And that's going to keep you, that's going to prevent you from being on somebody else's team. Not to say that you can't get to, because somebody might be desperate enough to pull you in anyway, but I'm saying chances are nobody's going to want to play with you.
Right.
But this is the part that got me. Randy Moss said, and he was talking, and Booger McFarland was sitting next to him. He said, Boog, you know this, we played the game. We got to a point where I don't care what you do during the week. All I care about is the 3 hours that we spend on this gridiron. We got to make this thing happen. So sports has got to a point where nobody is in anybody's business. I don't care what you do during the week. As long as you show up for this game, you're good.
Bottom line.
Whatever happened to caring about what you're doing during the week to make sure that you're available on Sunday.
There's no accountability for each other.
Now the community is only as good as the time you spend in the locker room, because outside the locker room, there is no community.
Right.
Wow.
That's deep.
So that word right there, Pastor, and what we're talking about, community.
Yep.
When Anthony, when you sent me the topic, when we talked about, you know, from the pipeline from school to prison.
Yes.
You know what I thought about? It's what Pastor said. It's community.
Right.
It's really not a school to prison pipeline. It's a community to prison pipeline. Is what it is. Because whatever happens to that community happens to that school.
Right.
You know, so like you said, and then when I think about community, I think about accountability.
Right.
We held each other accountable.
Right.
And so, like you said, if I'm not holding you accountable during the week, and all I care about is what you do when you come into work, you know, because it affects my bottom line.
Right.
There's no accountability, man, and you can't have community without accountability.
Right.
Yeah.
In the 70s, we didn't have to go searching.
Right.
And, you know, growing up in the 70s, you had a baseball field, you had a football field, you had a basketball court, you had sports, you had Cub Scouts, you had 4-H. I mean, you had everything. Right. There was always something to do. You never had to go searching.
Yeah.
Right. That's the reality. You knew who the coaches were because the coaches were the same people that was at your church on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
The same people that were at your school during the week.
Right.
Everybody knew everybody. And what I'm saying is, you know, the world has changed, but the earth hasn't enlarged in size.
Right. Right. True.
Right. So if the earth is still the same size as it was 1,000 years ago, how can we be so divided?
Yeah.
That's good.
It's been, I say it's by design, but even the design has to change because designs change all the time.
Right.
But you have to have recognition and acceptance of where you're standing.
Right.
And you have to realize one thing, that mental health plays a bigger role than it ever has because you're bombarded with so many stimulants.
Right.
It's always something coming at you. And once again, even like with Antonio Brown, he's no different than my buddy who carried a 38 to school in 7th grade. That doesn't mean he was a bad person, but he's looking at his surroundings saying, this was going on.
Right.
And I may die because my cousin's affiliated with this, and this, and nobody said anything to my cousin. I'm watching it not be corrected. So if you're not protecting my cousin, what you think they're gonna do to me? I'm smaller than my cousin, younger than my cousin. And so when you sit him and the cousin down and say, you know what, we gonna have a meeting, the OGs, we're gonna sit down and say, you know what, y'all fighting because of what we got into in 79.
Right.
He dated my girlfriend. I ain't like it, so I'm into it with him. Y'all still fighting over my girlfriend that didn't want me no more, and you don't even know that.
Right.
And you throwing flags and everything in the air because of somebody's girlfriend, and you don't even understand.
You don't even know it. Wow.
So same thing with football. Antonio Brown is dealing with something that Lawrence Taylor might have dealt with, or Michael Irvin. And now he's getting more money, but the problem was never corrected because it's, well, I get $330,000 for scoring a touchdown and another 300 for 55 more yards and another 300,000, and you don't want to give me those balls in that situation. So I'm mad. Wait a minute. How come you can't just throw me the ball one time so I can go get this money? I got to feed my family because it's going to be looked at. Once again, I own the stadium, the organization, whatever I say, go. I don't care what you feel. This ain't what we want to do today. That ain't covering the spread. So matter of fact, you chill out. Now it becomes shut up, boy, and do what I tell you to do. And now we forget that somebody told us, shut up, boy. This our land now. 13 colonies. Got off a boat and told you it was New York, but people was already in Manhattan, Seneca Village, living their life, doing their thing. People already was in Chicago, Record Row, before they said the cow knocked over the lantern. That's because all the brothers and sisters own the record labels that the Beatles and Rolling Stones came talking to. See, nobody talks about these things because, well, that's the elephant in the room. He in the corner. You gonna tell me you don't see the elephant eating the peanuts in the corner in a one-bedroom apartment? You can't see the elephant, but you want to just say, well, put the couch over there. Don't think about the elephant. We just gonna keep moving. But the elephant's growing.
Right.
And pretty soon you can't live with the elephant. And that's what we've been as a people. We've been afraid to die per se, not physically, but in all ways to something that no longer works. Hiding your truth no longer works. You know, once again, you said, if I don't care what you do during the week, like I don't care what your mental health was on Wednesday, if you was close to suicide on Wednesday, as long as you come to work on Friday and don't get me in trouble on the assembly line or during the game or at the church on Sunday, long as you don't tell Miss Barbara that her son's shooting people, but she telling everybody else's son not to shoot nobody.
Right.
She don't even talk to her own son.
Come on.
You know, So we're getting to a point where we're forgetting, like you said earlier, the purpose. Like if you an empty shell, then you a vessel basically for destruction, because I can fill that shell up with destruction in 2.5 minutes because it don't know what it want to do no way. Right. And if I can give a status quo conversation every time I turn around, that vessel will say, well, man, you know, everybody over there is talking about that. It must be cool to pillage and kill people. Instead of the man saying, hey, man, let me tell you something. Purpose is one thing. It's you deciding for the rest of this journey what I'm going to be dedicated to.
Right.
And how is that going to change things for a positive outcome? Now, I can't control the outcome. I can control the action, the doing, the being, that part. And so, but if my actions are geared towards more positivity, then my outcome will have a better chance of being positive.
Yes.
See what I'm saying? Because a pipeline, once again, can get clogged.
Yes.
Like any pipes can get clogged.
Right.
So once it was the plumber who's coming to unclog the pipes, who's saying maybe we need to add a different pipeline to the flow system itself.
Right.
Because once again, sports is socializing basically. Yeah. You're learning how to be communal. So you're learning how to protect the guy next to you, or the young lady, because everybody plays sports these days. But how do I become accountable for not only myself, but my teammates? Because we say like, man, I got your back. I got your back. Right. That's for real. Like this guy's coming from the blind side. I got to block. I'm an offensive tackle and I have to block. The quarterback's not looking. He doesn't see this DN coming around. And if I allow him to get around me, lights out for my quarterback. No different than we going to school and it's 5 of us and we know that you just got into a fight, but you're not telling us. Right. So we don't know to watch your back. We don't know why these guys coming at us, because everything's so secretive. Yes. Nobody wants to be honest, or put on Front Street.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I think that transparency is definitely needed back into our community. And this can roll over into another conversation. I know we've talked about community as always the next step of like really building it back. And I like the examples like what you were saying, Pastor, about playing cards. It's not about the game. It's about the fellowship. Right. It's about beating you in cards and seeing your face while I trash talk.
Win.
Right. And win. Right. And that's powerful. Like this, because I believe if we were able to all be in like one location having this conversation, it would be even deeper because we'll be in each other's faces and we can have the side conversation and then really dig into it.
It was a technical difficulty. I don't know. Like
you look like your face is frozen. Can you hear? Okay, I'm gonna take you out while you correct that. But yeah, I think if we were all, like I said, if we all had these technical issues, we're all together and can have a free flowing conversation. I think that technology has afforded us, like you said, Mark, some great things like this, because we wouldn't be having this. Like it would be hard to, okay, Pastor, you got time this time? Okay, Mark, what time you got? You can come together. We can try to meet. We'll be together probably like 11 tonight. Right, exactly. That's my only free time, that we can all come together. But yeah, I think technology has afforded a lot of great things, but granted, it has placed some obstacles when it comes to direct contact.
It's the exchange of energy, man. Like I'm real big on energy, and you bounce energy and ideas off of each other, and that's what it's about. Like you said, this meeting would be so much different if we were all face to face. And like you said, it'd be deeper because, like I said, I can look you in your face and I can feel your energy. I can feel, your words that you're speaking from your heart. Right. Versus us having to wait and then dealing with technical difficulties and stuff like that. But but I think the main thing is accountability, man. Right. You can't have community without accountability. Right. And when we're talking about, like my brother saying, a pipeline, it could be a clog in the pipeline, and we may have to build a different pipeline. But I think everything starts at home. It starts in that community, and it starts with accountability. Right. Big Mama was accountable for us. Right. But when your grandmama is under 35, honestly,
Right.
It's like it's comical, but but when you become a grandmother, because in your 30s, you're still developing as an adult.
Right. Right.
You really are. You're developing as an adult. I'm 42 years old, and I think about what I did at 32, and I was like, man, I was so young. You know, like for real. And so Big Mama was somebody who had a lot of wisdom.
Right.
She's seen a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, she's
Definitely.
raised a generation.
Right.
But when you a grandmama at 38, you're still developing. You're still becoming who you're supposed to be. And there's no accountability, man.
Yeah.
You know?
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
You can see your grandmother's half-naked picture on Instagram. Like,
Right.
I say that for real because, like, that's traumatizing
Right. That is traumatizing.
to
Yeah.
see that. Your friend said, man, I saw your grandma. She thick.
Right.
She was on Instagram yesterday
Right.
at Magic City. And you like, what?
Right.
My grandma. Like, you didn't even know that. You thought
Right.
grandma was a overnight nurse.
Right.
You never knew grandma worked at Magic City. You didn't know that. Your friend showed you on a phone in a classroom. Now he showed everybody. Now everybody
Right.
laughing at you. Now it's no respect anymore. Now you feel, you know, you feel bad. You almost, a lot of kids are cutting themselves,
Right.
like under their clothes, like chest and inner thighs and stuff now. Like, because it's getting worse to deal with so many arrows being shot at you at one time, as opposed to what I said earlier, like the gossip around the corner. It take a while for that to be kind of like, you know, proven.
Right.
Social media, you can show it now.
Right.
You know what's crazy too, and I think Pastor can attest to this. When I was saying, you know, Big Mama was somebody who was older, she had a lot of wisdom, and you could glean from that wisdom. She's seen some things. Even in church now, things are so microwave. I ain't never seen. Listen, I'm 42 years old, and you got people out here that are pastors, and now they ain't even 30 yet, but now all of a sudden they're an apostle.
Wow.
Now all of a sudden they're an overseer, or they're a bishop. Bro, you can't be younger than me and be my spiritual father. It don't work that way.
Bro,
Yeah,
please
take
listen. Remember, I'm a pastor. I'm on this platform. Don't get me in no trouble.
I know. I'm just, but it's the same concept. It's like, how are you so young and thrust in a position that's meant for somebody who's supposed to have some wisdom and some knowledge and some
You don't even
experience?
know. You don't even know who your children are going to be yet.
Yeah, that's a catch-22 itself, because even at the same time, like if you talked about a story of, say, Jesus being younger than somebody,
Right.
and having a wisdom or a knowledge, you know, that surpass the age. Because remember, grandma said, baby, you got an old soul, you've been here before.
Right.
So a lot of times it's who that young person is, because sometimes that young person grew up with Big Mama and was provided that wisdom and the knowledge earlier on. And some people just do it for the glamour. And I understand where you're coming from, because it's like, well, I'm 25, I'm a pass, I got all the ladies, I'm driving this, and this, and they might be devilish minded.
Right.
It just might be the cloak, the facade that they choose to put on for a successful look. Remember, we talked about success. Then you have that anointed young brother who might be 16. And you like, how could you know that? How could you? And you feel it in your soul that he knows. Like, it's not like he ain't faking it to make it. He knows.
I'm gonna cut you off. You're absolutely right. You cannot. One thing that I've learned in my walk, I didn't learn this in the church. I learned it in my walk. Is a gift is a gift.
Right.
An anointing is an anointing. You can be gifted at a very young, you can be born gifted, which we all are gifted in some shape, matter, or form.
Right.
You can be anointed to do specific things. You have specific assignments that God has given to people, and you can be anointed. That's why you can see that in a 16-year-old. That's why you can see a 25-year-old with the level of influence, because when they open up their mouth, something just begins to happen because the anointing is all over them. Right. You can see a young brother who's gifted, who knows how to teach the game, You know, in sports, you know, he commands the room when he walks in.
Right.
You have a sense of presence. That's gifting. That's anointing. That's grace. I mean, that's real.
Right.
Challenge is if you don't have the ability to nurture the gift.
Right.
And what you're talking about, Mark, is what happens with people that have not had that support structure around them to nurture their gift.
Right.
And then they fall victim to the notoriety. They succumb to the applause and all of that comes with it because they don't have that supporting infrastructure around them. And so I definitely understand where you're coming from. We laugh about it, but it's real. You know, there's a brother out there right now, not even 38 years old, that is bringing a shift for the kingdom that nobody saw coming. And it, you know, 10 years ago, he was living out of his car.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So, and now he's seeding into other people's businesses. He says he wants to seed $500 into 1,000 businesses this year. That's $500,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and the only thing, and the thing is, he didn't go to school.
Right.
He kept working.
Right.
And in a matter of 5 years, he goes from being a borrower to a lender.
Right.
Because he accepted, acknowledged his gift, and a lot of people try to tear him down. So I'm saying all of that stuff is real. What we have to do, what's important for us as the adults, because I heard you say this earlier, you know, the social media platform has given us this opportunity to come together and have this conversation. And you said, why it'd be different if we were together? It would be different if we were together. Because the question I would have is, would we talk the same way if we were in the same room?
Okay.
Right. Everybody on here right now wants to make a valid point, a constructive point, because you got people listening. But if we was in the same room, what happens when you in the same room with a bunch of brothers? Oh, this Negro.
A little more raw.
Right. Exactly.
Indeed.
Are you really
be looking at each other's faces
to do that? Because nobody wants to be recognized as the one who keep cutting other folks off because we're on camera.
Right. Right. You're looking at your face. I'm trying to keep the straight face, like.
Yeah. Because it's that etiquette.
Right. That's good though. That's good.
Just keeping it real.
Yeah.
I would love to be in the room and have let the conversation get deeper and realer, if that's a word. You know, it would I would love it. And this is kind of like the beginning of all of this. And once we can start facilitating more of these direct conversations, I definitely want to have more of them. So real quick, I appreciate everybody rocking and hanging with us. Watching the Brothers of Legacy with Pastor Mark and my man, special guest TJ, Coach TJ, who I'm crowning already because first time, but he is a cousin of Legacy right now.
Yeah, what up, cuzzo?
But listen, I appreciate everyone rocking and hanging. I'm trying not to stop the conversation. I know I'm just so time conscious. I'm like,
that's all good.
But as long as everybody can kind of rock a little bit. So we talked about purpose, right? We talked about community. We talk about pulling people together. And with Coach, like pulling your team members out of just focused on scoring, because when he's focused on scoring, it's like, just give me the ball, I'll score. It's more teamwork, because you're not just building for this game, you're building for the game of life. I'm trying to teach you principles and things like that. Of course, and we want to win, but we want to learn something in the process of going through the games and the practices and things of that nature. What do you say about what would you say is one of the key principles? And this is for everybody, like, how can we get community back? And I know in the midst of COVID, that becomes a hindrance sometimes because, some are still super nervous, they're still limited. They're in the house like it was 2 years ago, I'm sure. While some are cool, they got the mask off. Hey, I get in a crowd of 1,000 people. I don't care, So how do we start building our communities back as far as being more connected on purpose, as opposed to, because I think in the midst of trying to be successful and find purpose, there's been a disconnect. You know, each one of us now we're like, I'm going my path, you're going your path, I'm going this path. I'm gonna be successful all along. What have we discovered? What I've discovered is, you know, success comes in community. You know, each connection. Because like if you look back at some actors, they flow in communities. It's like he's like, oh, all these people knew each other. You look back in the days in the 60s, Aretha knew this person and that person. These folks became successful. They were all in the same communities. How do we bring that back? How do we start connecting more over purpose as opposed to trying to be get into a collaborative mindset as opposed to such a separated agenda, if that makes sense.
How about I just used the example of Sean Rollins,
right?
You know, playing cards.
Yes.
Right? Can we get to a place where you can invite a group of brothers together and not play cards?
Right.
Can you get to a place where you can invite a group of brothers together and we not have to use bowling as the reason we come together? Not have to use basketball as the reason we come together? Right. Can we just come together and have a conversation? Can brothers make time for that?
Right.
Yeah.
Can we just come together and have a conversation about how we make our homes stronger, our lives better?
Right.
Is anybody motivated to come together with a group of brothers and just be able to take something back home with you that's going to help your family be stronger?
I'm glad you said that, Pastor.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put that to the test. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just saying that, you know, for guys, for us, you know, in order to get us to do something, you have to incentivize us.
Unfortunately,
you know, right? You got to give us something that makes it worth our while.
Right.
Now, women, you know, they'll come together just because it's a good idea. But you know, you have to incentivize us. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
well, you know, that's what we were trying to do with Man to Man, AD.
Right.
Right. It's like we want to come together and have some conversation. Let's just chat. But for whatever reason, like TJ said earlier, that sometimes for some people that begins to mess with your persona.
Right.
You know, that sounds a little soft, bro. I ain't trying to get together.
Like, man, y'all want to hug?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, seriously.
Right.
And that's what happens.
Right.
But you know what?
You know?
I met AD in a situation where brothers had to come together.
Right.
It was it was a kind of incentive, like Mark said, you know, because it was about fatherhood.
Yeah.
Now, fatherhood is still something that we're all learning about.
Right.
You know, because some of us had good fathers, some of us had bad fathers, or no father there at all. So when we had that conversation, I noticed a lot of men were opening up to the vulnerable aspects of themselves, like being a father who fought for their kids in court.
Oh, yeah, Rollins did as well. Yeah.
Because that was something that was very, very deep. Yeah. Because you saw the scars.
Right.
Not necessarily the wounds per se, because some wounds are still healing that people might not speak on. But you saw the scars, the testimony that they got both of their kids, or that this guy got his daughter, or this guy got both of his sons from two different women he had to fight. So at the same time, we also could say, man, brother, why you keep picking them kind of women?
Right.
Like, you know, because we get a chance to be real with each other. Like you said earlier, it wasn't no cameras really, so it was just us talking. Like, you're not a good farmer per se. You putting your seeds in dirt. You don't even know if that soil grows corn, and you want corn, but you just throwing. What are you doing? You ain't figure out how to till that land, nothing.
Right.
Because it looked good.
Right.
And you don't want to be honest and say that's why you in this trouble.
Right.
Because you wanted her because she looked good.
Right.
Now, a girl who was good for you, you passed her up because she wasn't twerking at Magic City, or she didn't go with the lifestyle that had a certain look for you. Like, you know, because remember in Muhammad Ali, when he was with Jada Pinkett earlier in the movie, and she was dressing a certain kind of way, and it was like, nah, you can't do that. Yeah. And she's like, how you gonna tell me what to do?
Right.
And then he left her alone.
Right.
He still loved her, but he understood on this mission, for me having this certain purpose, I got to have a passenger that feels the same way. They don't have to be the same way, but we feel the same way. We have a common goal. We can have different, thoughts on it, but we willing to compromise or work together on the journey.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when brothers come together, we forget that we all coming from somewhere different, a different walk of life. When we get behind closed doors, some person may be a little more, uppity. Some person might be a little more loose, on camera. We, like you said, we all got to keep it kind of, a certain way because we are talking to the world, and we do have to have that in mind. But behind closed doors, when brothers get together, you might cuss more than you normally do.
Right.
This guy over here, he might, he might be a crier. He might want to share the tip.
Right.
He might be the hardest person on the camera.
Right.
But he want to let that pain go. He want to be able to tell his brother, like, man, I'm dealing with something and it's really heavy.
Yes.
So as men, to change the narrative about school or community pipelines to prison, we got to show what vulnerability looks like, what being a real human being is, what a persona-less way of living is. And I made mistakes too, and I've learned this, and I failed at this, but it wasn't so much of a loss as it was a lesson.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to keep up a certain way of facade because we feel it'll hinder our brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the brand
get exposed.
Yeah, and then exposed ain't always a bad thing.
Right.
Because sometimes you got to get corrected to know you was in the wrong anyway.
Yes.
How can you be successful if you won't listen or take that positive or negative feedback?
Right.
When you stand in front of a mic.
My life, the greatest season of my life was the season that God exposed me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was able to stop lying.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the worst, but it's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real though. That's real, man.
Because the lying was killing me.
Right. Right. Yep.
The exposure saved my life.
Yep. Yeah.
We need that. We need. You said it. You said it. Like that pain, man. That pain put perspective on your life.
Right.
Like it really does.
Definitely.
Being put on Front Street. That's what I call it. You get put on Front Street is like you become, like I used to say, Front Street shouted. Like you become Front Street shouted.
Right.
Your mama and them, everybody know you did it. Everybody, it was you. You can't even lie about it.
Right.
There you go. Because I had to be willing to be put on Front Street.
Yeah.
And not keep up some perfect way of being because no one's perfect. Everybody's imperfection is the perfection that you're really seeking, like being comfortable being you, being imperfect. That I think that's what's the biggest key when we talk about a pipeline to prison. Nobody's cool with taking the L. Everybody's a winner. Nobody had a losing season. So you mean to tell me everybody was 100-0? Like nobody lost.
Nobody lost. Right.
The Bears, I seen the Super Bowl shuffle, but then I seen a lot of non-Super Bowl shuffle. And to the point you was like, what is wrong with them? Do they ever care? Nobody saw Martin Luther King with 5 different women kicking it or getting locked up for something other than marching. Or when Malcolm X was, doing heroin with some dude, or Ray Charles, or Michael Jordan gambling.
Right.
These the things that sweep it under the rug. Hurry up. No, don't talk about that. Well, talk about it.
But you know what? You talked about.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
No, go ahead, Pastor. You good? I defer to you. Go ahead.
You make me think about when I was a teenager. I had this friend, Chris Tansey, back in Kankakee. And he and I hung out every day. We was best friends. And then one night we got into a fight in an apartment building hallway on the stairs. I mean, we was brawling. You hear me? Like brawling to the point to where, an earring got snatched out.
Wow.
Like we was tussling on the stairs, up and down the stairs in this hallway, going at it. And somebody broke the fight up.
Right.
And he went home, I went home, and I was hurt because I was like, man, what am I going to do tomorrow? Like me and Kristen fought, so who am I hang out with tomorrow? Right. But the other part of it was, I think he beat me up. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in so much pain. Like there's no way that I could feel like I won the fight.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to me, so this was a Friday night. Saturday morning, he calls me. Yo, you all right? Yeah, man, what's up? Look, man, I don't never want to fight you again. Right? So he went home feeling the exact same way I felt.
Right.
And all we knew, the only lesson we had was we don't never want to fight each other again.
Wow.
Yeah, that's real.
That's real.
Yeah.
And we still, this 40 years later, we still friends today.
Right.
I haven't seen him in 30 years, over 30 years.
Wow.
But if I saw him today, it would be as if we were together yesterday.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's real. That's real companionship, real compadres. Like you got to realize the people on your journey and what they mean to you. We discount people so easily in this new day and time. Like, don't nobody have any lasting thing. It's microwave. Like, bing, I'm done.
Right.
You know, or you said something on like I don't want to talk to you no more. You know,
Right, period.
And the people, it's like I'm cutting you off for something so small and minute. But the lesson in it was, man, I'm tripping.
Yeah.
And how come I can't check myself?
Right.
How come I can't be checked? If I could check him, why he can't check me?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Right.
I'm not too high and mighty that I can't receive that from him. That's supposed to be my brother, right? Why I can't? Why don't I sit back like you said, man, let me think about that. I don't want to fight him no more. Even if I won, my conscience, my mom used to say, boy, your conscience will kill you. Like it'll work on you.
Yeah.
Like you ain't, nobody got to say nothing. Your own conscience is sick. You know you ain't right. What you talking about? You ain't right. Oh man, he bogus. What?
Right.
Boy, you know you going over that trip.
It go back to what you said though, man. Ain't nobody taking no L's.
Right.
Nobody wants to take an L, man, because an L is humbling.
Yeah.
You know what
Definitely.
I'm saying? And even if you see it in social media, you hear it in music, people talking about, I ain't taking no L's, I ain't taking no L's. Or even in church, it's your winning season. Every season.
All the time.
It's my winning season all the time.
I ain't never lost.
Like,
Like
I ain't never lost.
the Bills do. Is that winning still? Because
I ain't gonna never have a bad day.
never.
Right.
But you know, that's the thing. Like there were so many L's in scripture.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. I mean, like a lot of L's.
A lot.
Out the L.
Abram was told he'd be the father of many nations. Did anybody see slavery coming
Right.
No.
to the Egyptians?
Exactly.
Never
No.
said.
Right.
Right. Moses got him out of Egypt.
Right.
Went up into the mountain. While he was gone, they built an idol.
Right.
Just like that party.
They like, we gonna kick it while you gone.
Right.
And we don't care.
Man, right.
You know,
And children.
and-
Right.
And Sean
Definitely.
just said L would save your life and your marriage.
Yes, sir.
Right.
But that's for real. Like,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
and your children, he just said as well, because like I'm married, I know what it is.
Right.
I'm 42 like my man, so you like Mark, so you know, I remember just being a wild youngin', hanging out, going to the college, and you don't even go to school. You just there, you know, with your buddies. You're like, what we doing here? Like,
Right.
well, it's a party. Like, we can go. Yeah, we going right now, you know.
Right.
And then you have to shake some of that
Right.
to be able to say, you know what, I can't go right now. It's not that I can't, but I can't go. You know, I have something going on. I told my wife I was going to take my boys to this over here, or, you know, man, she ain't going to care. Oh, she going to care. You don't care. That's the difference. I care. She care.
Right.
They
Right.
care. You ain't
You
care.
don't.
You don't care. That's
Right.
cool, but I'm not on that with you. So, you know, that's what I learned, because I had guys who might have been married 19 times, and that's because they never cared. Everything was like, oh man,
I'm
I'm going to the strip club. Boy, I'm not going.
Right.
No. No, I'm gonna sit at home. I'm gonna watch this show with them. Yeah, I know that it might be fun at the club. I understand that. The temptation to go and probably scratch the back of my head 12 times, but I'm not going. I'm fighting temptation like Cuba Gooding Jr. I'm fighting it. Like, I'm staying at home, because the value of that teaches you a real lesson. Like that L is waiting on you.
Right.
Like I already took a L. I
Right.
know what it feels like. It's no way for me to tell you a L is comfortable.
Definitely.
Nah. In hindsight, you could say, well, I'm glad I took that L because I wouldn't have done this. Like at my grandma's funeral, the preacher was like, "You running from your calling, man."
Mm.
So I know you. I know your uncle and them. I know where you're from. I know what I know you.
Right.
I said, man, I'm really not running no more, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I'm accepting the divine timing and how, because it might not be in a building yet.
Right.
It might be in the street. It might be coaching. It might be whatever it is that God got for me to do.
Right.
But I do accept that it is a purpose.
Right.
My grandma called me Reverend Knight when I was a little boy, and I didn't know who that was. I didn't know. She's like, Reverend Knight, come here. I used to go to church, had a little hat on, the
Right.
trench coat like a
must be
spectre
from
gadget.
Chicago, Reverend.
Yeah, I'm from the west side. West side. And grandma take you to church, she like, Reverend Knight, come here. Boy, you be talking to them people over there. You don't even know them people. You over there just talking to them. And I played Martin Luther King in a school called St. Andrew. No, it was St. Edmunds at first. In Oak Park. And after that, a Caucasian teacher hit me on the head with a book in the classroom. I had too much influence. Got into a fight with her.
Wow.
I got kicked out the school. Ended up going to another Catholic school. That didn't work out either. Because I realized one thing. The uniform looks a certain way, but the people not upholding a certain way.
Right.
They don't really care about me per se.
Right.
We pay them. It wasn't until I got around teachers that looked like me or cared about me that I started to understand what value was. I started to understand what inner self was, because my grandfather used to tell me certain things, and it resonates now more than ever. But when I got to high school, I ended up going to Urban Youth High School called Double E downtown. And I had a teacher named Cuddy Bacon. Mr. Bacon was an old school brother who wore ascot. Had a boat. He didn't play no games.
Right.
He was cool. He was the coolest thing moving.
Right.
He like, look here, young brother. You missed my class one more time. I said, man, 7 o'clock class, Mr. Bacon.
Wow.
And the L train. I got to get on the green line. It's hard some days. He's like, so that's another excuse, huh? I said, you right. I started coming on time. He started telling me more and more. I never seen nobody with an ascot. Nobody with an ascot. They might have had a tie on. Even the Muslim brothers had a bow tie. He had an ascot on. There was a whole different level of situation. I'm like, okay, what's with the look? And he said, brother, you got to learn one thing. Look how much power you got in you. Look how the people listen to you. Look how your friends, look at everybody talking to you.
Right.
You don't see that? I said, yeah, but we just, tripping. We just have a good time. I said, no. Think about that.
Right.
That was everybody I ever met in my life who saw something in me that I was yet to put a clarity on.
Right.
I might have been driving that purpose car, but I didn't know I was in that car.
Right.
Till the clarity comes. Then you say, oh, that's why. I get it now. So that's why I could say, I'm not going outside. I'm going to stay with my family. Right. That's why I could say, I'm going to come on this podcast and talk instead of saying, nah, brother, I can't really do it. I got something to do, Nah. I'm going to make the time.
Right.
I'm going to make the time, because things in life, man, are more important than we give credit to sometimes because of how busy we claim to be.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
So
True.
like I say, my saying is, I'm not gonna Mike Tyson your whole ear off about it, because I'm marathon winded. My lady laughs with me sometimes. She's like, boy, that's what grandma, that's that Reverend Knight. She'd be like, boy, because it's funny. I watched Reverend Knight on YouTube one day.
Right.
I was at work and we had a long ride in the car. So I got tired of talking to the guy because I didn't want to keep talking. He was a new dude. We talked as much as we could for about the hour trip we was on.
Right.
Until I had to let him get a moment of, peace for himself, because he had a lot of things going on. So I turned on Reverend Knight and let both of us listen. We just had a moment of listening.
Right.
And Reverend Knight was saying a lot of things about accountability.
Yeah.
About not always blaming the devil or not always blaming somebody else, but honoring the God within you.
Right.
Honoring who you are, knowing that nobody's more powerful than God. Nothing. Right. And I realized at that moment what grandma was saying, like, be powerful no matter who your opposition is. Be unafraid to walk whatever that purpose is, because there's going to be people who going to come against you. It's going to be family. Your mama might come against you, but that can't stop you. You still have to go forward. If that means you're a preacher, pastor, teacher, whatever you are, people not going to like you.
Right.
Like is something we attempt to buy. We want to buy likes, because remember, social media is about likes.
Right.
You know,
Definitely.
So inner love, I would say. Inner love helps your purpose grow. You know, loving yourself, knowing yourself, you know, that's key.
Definitely. Yeah. Man, I appreciate you guys for rocking and being on here, man. Coach TJ. I definitely look forward to having you back and get deep into these conversations. You know, tomorrow, probably going to dig into the community aspect of changing the narrative. We already kind of tapped on it a little bit today, but we're going to dig a little deeper, because I realize that the community to prison pipeline is real. It's real, you know, because we need to stand together as a community and protect our family. And, you know, when we see things that are lacking, we need to step in and do something. All right. Yeah. So we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, same time, same channel. Always know that we love you. God loves you more. Continue to stay safe. Whether you feel about the mask, wear them. I know the Amarion is still out there. And
yeah, he dancing.
But be safe, guys. Be safe. All right. We'll see you in the AM. Peace out. As always, we love you. Know that God loves you more. Stay safe.